So I've been talking to y'all about all of these revelations, all these data dumps that are coming at us at a breakneck pace right now, and definitely for the first half of 2025. And frankly, it's going to be happening for even longer than that with Pluto in Aquarius being a 20-year cycle. But that said, let's talk about what's going to happen with the people who just decide, because hey, everybody's got free will, and they just decide, you know what, I'm going to remain checked out of reality. I'm just not going to accept all this information that is getting data dumped on me. I'm just going to shut down. I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to block people. I'm going to go stick my head in the sand, whatever. Well, what's going to happen to those people? Let's talk about it. I've told y'all that we are in a very intense time, a very pivotal time in history, particularly for the United States. As Americans, we are going through an intense time that is really setting how this nation, the course of this nation, is going to unfold over the next 250-year cycle. This is big stuff, okay? And this is a time when we are dealing with exposés at an unprecedented scale, having to do with the government, media, big pharma, NGOs, immigration, the economy, and even weather events, okay? And so for those of us that are embracing this great awakening that we are in, it's going to be a time of growth, spiritual awareness, personal empowerment. I'm not saying that that's going to be easy, not at all. But I will say it's going to be an easier road to hoe than those who resist the awakening. They deny it or they refuse to see the truth. The consequences for them are probably going to be psychological, financial, and maybe even physical. With the North Node in Pisces over the next year and a half, it is going to be absolutely critical for our survival and our most highest use possible of this energy, that we tune into our intuition and we let that be our guide. But people who are disconnected from that part of themselves are probably going to experience cognitive dissonance, confusion, and even some emotional distress. I think as media lies unravel and institutions collapse and leaders fall, those who are still clinging on to the illusion, the old status quo, they're going to probably struggle with increased anxiety, depression, emotional instability, because they're having trouble integrating and accepting the world as it is versus the world as they want it to be. You're going to know that you're dealing with someone who has this problem of, increased psychological and emotional breakdown if they're constantly denying facts. They have extreme emotional reactions like anger, fear, panic when they're confronted with the truth, or they seek escapism through drugs, alcohol, entertainment, or overconsumption, overindulgence. Second possibility here is that people who refuse the truth are probably going to deal with financial and economic hardship. And this is because with the South Node in Virgo going through the United States natal 10th and ninth houses during the next year and a half, that's going to dismantle some old financial structures. It's going to expose financial economic fraud, and yes, as we're already seeing, lead to some mass layoffs. And so we could see not only government workers getting downsized, but also government assistance programs may collapse or may come under tougher scrutiny. And this is really going to shift the job market as well. And any kind of industries that are built on deception or government dependency, probably not really solid. And those who just naively continue to believe and hope against all hope that it's going to bounce back, or that one day that it's just going to go back to normal and we're going to go back to the good old days, well, they're probably going to end up losing everything. So some warning signs that maybe you're dealing with somebody who's going to suffer these hardships is that they rely too much on government benefits or corporate jobs, or jobs that are tied to failing industries or like government subsidies or things like that. Also, people who are ignoring red flags and refusing to adapt, and they're expecting the old economy to just return to the good old days. And this is also people who are not preparing for potential disruptions like in banking, supply chains, and currency shifts. Another strong possibility here is people feeling betrayed by institutions that they've trusted, maybe blindly. Uh, we're looking at, mass deportations, exposures of NGOs, political scandals that should be making it clear to everyone that these institutions probably never had people's best interests in mind. There's, maybe corruption, greed going on in the background, with these hidden agendas. And there's also corruption, that is probably going to come out um, in other industries that RFK is going to be regulating. And again, these exposures are going to reveal that people who have blindly trusted these industries are, now facing consequences, because if they took something that was experimental, untested, fraudulent, there's going to be a reckoning with that. And as a result, we're probably going to see mainstream media collapsing. And so, if you have blindly trusted the news authorities, you might find yourself feeling completely lost and unsure of where to turn because of this. Warning signs of this might be, a person who is defending these institutions that have already been exposed, or ignoring personal experiences of deception and gaslighting, like institutional gaslighting from authority figures, and feeling disoriented, angry, victimized by these systems, feeling like they're getting abandoned by them. The fourth thing is social isolation and fractured communities. We're going to have a lot of ideological differences, increasingly isolating certain people, like we saw during COVID, unfortunately, where we have awareness versus blind compliance, and people resisting and struggling to relate to those who have adapted to reality and are moving forward. Warning signs of this is that, refusing to have conversations about corruption, government failures, or societal changes, blaming others instead of looking from within, and becoming resentful, bitter, and feeling left behind. Finally, number five, people like this are going to be forced into submission and dependence on a collapsing system, because if they're in denial and they're clinging onto a collapsing government, like the banking system, the corporate structures, believing that it's going to protect them, they're probably going to comply with whatever is required to get back to normal, even if that means giving up personal freedoms. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's going to be too late. So some warning signs of this are signing one's rights away for the promise of safety or security, blindly complying with new mandates, policies, and whatnot that are restricting independence, and expecting the government to save them, rather than taking action to prepare. Basically, this is being trapped in a system they no longer understand, and yes, that can result in psychological and financial ruin. And so I want to remind you, the power is in your hands. You either let this take you, or you take control of it and you take your power back and you rise above and encourage others to do the same.